Thank you, Mr. Speaker. My question is to the Minister for Immigration and asks, has he discussed issues related to his immigration portfolio at Cabinet Club events? If so, on how many occasions?
Mr. Speaker.
Honourable Michael Woodhouse.
Mr. Speaker, I have no ministerial responsibility for Cabinet Club events. I attend a number of events in my capacity as a national MP, and I discuss a range of issues and canvass my role as an MP from time to time. I will also discuss matters that relate to all my portfolios, including immigration.
Order, Mr. Speaker.
Point of order, Holly Walker.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. This question was set down on notice and accepted from the Clerk's office.
Order.
That he has ministerial responsibility for these matters.
It is a question that is a marginal question. It has been allowed through after some discussion between the member who's lodged the question and the clerks. In these circumstances, I am giving a fairly wide leeway to the way in which a minister answers such a question, and on this occasion, he has addressed the question to my satisfaction. Supplementary question.
Supplementary.
Supplementary question, Holly Walker.
Did he ever meet Dongwa Liu at a Cabinet Club event, and if so, did they discuss the immigrant investor category?
Mr. Speaker.
Honourable Michael Woodhouse.
In answer to the first part of that question, no.
Supplementary question, Holly Walker.
Does he think that Dongwa Liu and others who paid thousands of dollars to meet him at meetings of the Cabinet Club Chinese branch...
Order. That statement has just been denied by the Minister in the previous question. I'll hear from Mr Mallard.
Mr Speaker, the member said that the gentleman paid the money to meet him. Paid the money just because he didn't meet him.
Order.
Well, Mr. Order. Let me finish.
I'll allow the member to ask the question again if I've missed it, but if I recall the answer given by the Minister, the member's now effectively disputing the answer that was just given by the Minister. Holly Walker, supplementary question.
Supplementary. I can rephrase the question, Mr. Speaker. Does he think that anyone who has paid thousands of dollars to meet him at meetings of the Cabinet Club Chinese branch has done so because he was a National List MP or because he was the Minister of Immigration?
I'll allow the Minister to answer that as far as there's ministerial responsibility.
Mr. Speaker, I have no responsibility for Cabinet Club events.
Supplementary question, Holly Walker.
Point of order, sir. Point of order, sir.
Point of order, Materia Tura.
The question was not whether he was responsible. The question was, did he understand himself to be attending those events as in his ministerial capacity and the contents of those meetings? That is within his purview to answer.
Yeah, I'll hear from the Honourable Jerry Barney.
Mr Speaker, the Minister made it very clear at the start that he attends a lot of meetings as a national Member of Parliament. That should have given the questioner a fair guide. Mr Speaker, I think we've got to be very careful that we don't end up using a question time and I would say that the collision that there is between the Executive and the House of Representatives and effectively have a question time that regularly impugns the reputation of members of Parliament. We don't get, for example, to ask, is it appropriate for a political party to have a cash for clemency arrangement with .com?
Order. Grant Robertson, point of order.
Mr. Speaker, the issue I think here is that the primary question was allowed and did make reference to the Minister and Cabinet Club in the question. The supplementary that Holly Walker asked, the Minister has responsibility for himself, for his actions as a Minister. She asked in that supplementary question, when he was at a particular event, was he there as the Minister? To just get up and say, I don't have responsibility for that is not, I don't think, an acceptable answer. He could get up and say, when I'm there, I don't think I'm the Minister. And that would be him answering in accordance with both the question that's here and his responsibility. But just saying he has no responsibility when you have accepted the primary question, I don't think can stand.
Speaking to the point of order.
Well, Mr Speaker, the first point is that the Minister said he had no responsibility for Cabinet Club arrangements. Now, that he has no more responsibility for arrangements that are made by National Party branches around the country than Grant Robertson does for Labor Party branches around the country, nor does he have any accountability greater than Grant Robertson would for the use of the war room on the 3rd floor for Labor Party campaigning purposes. Mr Speaker, there are lots of areas where these things can be questioned. There is only one side of the House that has to answer the questions, and the standing orders should not be used to work in a way that impugns the reputation of members of Parliament who are simply doing as they should.
I'm going to ask the member to continue the point. I'm having trouble hearing it now because... Order! If the member wishes to stay for the balance of question time, she can also be quiet when I'm on my feet. Honourable Jeremy Brownlee.
The point is, Mr Speaker, that it would be an odd thing if ministers in particular did not speak about their portfolios when they're talking to groups of New Zealanders, regardless of the circumstances. I'm speaking, for example, Mr Speaker, tomorrow lunchtime to a group who I know have paid to be there. I'm not being paid. The National Party is not getting any money from it, but the group itself is getting. The problem here is...
Order!
No,
Order!
And Mr
I
Mallard,
gave a warning to the left-hand side of my house that if there was discussion during a point of order, a member would be ejected from this chamber. Now, it's very close to that on this occasion. I want to hear this point of order.
Point of order, Mr Speaker.
I'm hearing a point of order, Mr Robertson.
Interestingly, Mr Speaker, in his interjection, Mr Mallard makes the valid point, the Honourable Trevor Mallard makes the valid point when he says that's your job. Politicians speak about politics. Mr Speaker, I am not responsible for the organisation that has invited me to be there tomorrow, but I am delighted to be there, to have the opportunity to give a very popular political message, something that troubles our opponents.
Order.
Point of order, Mr Speaker.
Point of order.
Mr Speaker,
speaking to the point of order.
I am. I have
speaking to the point of order.
I have 2 points I want to make, Mr Speaker. The first of those is that there will be disorder in the House when a person taking a point of order introduces material that is not a point of order, that makes false accusations about another party. So while I understand your frustration at the noise, it is caused by the person taking the point of order. The second point I want to make in response to Mr Brownlee's point of order is that there is a world of difference between going and speaking at an engagement as a minister in this way and something called the Cabinet Club, very strongly, or clubs, sorry, for those who don't understand, Cabinet Clubs, that implies that they are a minister. You've clearly accepted the question on that basis, that there's something about the name Cabinet Clubs that means that a minister has some level of responsibility for it. Mr Woodhouse should at least answer the question rather than simply say he doesn't have responsibility.
Order. First point I'll make to the member is the question has been accepted because it asks the member about discussions he had relating to his ministerial responsibility, not specifically the attendance at any Cabinet Club or other fundraising event. The difficulty I now have is it's so long ago since the question was asked and answered that I think to clarify the matter we'll go back to that stage, but I can, before I allow that to happen, say at the time I was relatively comfortable with the way the Minister did answer that question in light of this difficult line which members face here, determining their role as a minister, where they have ministerial responsibilities, and the role that every member of this House has as a member of a political party. All members are involved to some extent in concerns around the funding of their political parties. Where that crosses the line is a difficult and grey area, but I will go back to listening to the question carefully, listening to the answer, and then we will move forward. So, supplementary question, Holly Walker.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. Does he think attendees who paid thousands of dollars to meet him at meetings of the Cabinet Club Chinese branch...
Order. Point of order, Jerry Brown.
Mr Speaker, in this circumstance, that is an imputation that is completely unacceptable.
Order. I'll hear from Materia Turo.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. You have already accepted this question as legitimate when you first allowed it through. You've asked my colleague to repeat that question. It's not now appropriate for Jerry Brownlee to contest your ruling that she now be allowed to repeat her question.
And I think that's a very fair point that's been raised. But in making a statement like that within a question, I do warn the member it gives a fairly wide licence to a minister who's then going to be answering the question. Holly Walker, could we get the question completed?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Does he think that attendees who paid thousands of dollars to meet him at meetings of the Cabinet...
Order.
Mr. Speaker, I'm now going to ask you to refer to the standing order that makes that question in order. I'm not disputing issues about whether the question is the primary question is valid, but this is an important point. Mr. Speaker, it would be like us asking if the people who pay thousands of dollars to go to the Green Party conference, etc., are gaining. Well, they might laugh, but we know that's what DotCom paid.
The member will resume his feet. That question, strictly according to standing orders, is not an order. But most questions that are asked in this House, day after day, do not adhere strictly to standing orders. I have allowed the question to be asked. It is being repeated, and then we can move forward by listening to the answer from the Minister. Holly Walker.
Mr. Speaker.
Point of order, the Honourable Jerry Brownlee.
Mr. Speaker, the standing orders are there for a number of reasons, but one of those reasons is to protect members. Mr. Speaker, while I accept that often questions do stray beyond the strict bounds of the Standing Order 3771 through to 5, in this case, because the attempt of the questioner is to inflict reputational damage, which is completely undue, I think it is appropriate that the question is confined to the realms or the parameters of standing orders.
No, I don't need assistance. I have a lot of sympathy for the point the member's making, but if he could consider where this matter's got to in the House, I listened to the question, I allowed it in the first place. Now, on many occasions, I go back and look at the Hansard subsequently, and when you look at supplementary questions that have been asked, I perhaps should have ruled it out of order. In this case, I let it through on the first occasion, and to progress this matter, I've invited the member, having let it through on the first occasion, to repeat it. That's where the matter lies. It may upset Mr. Brownlee, but that's the way we're going to move forward on this matter. Holly Walker. Order. Holly Walker.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Does he think attendees who paid thousands of dollars to meet him at meetings of the Cabinet Club Chinese branch did so because he was a National List MP or because he was the Minister of Immigration?
Mr. Speaker.
Honourable Michael Woodhouse.
Mr. Speaker, the questioner asks for an opinion about events over which I have no ministerial responsibility, and therefore it would be inappropriate of me to offer such an opinion.
Supplementary question, Honourable Trevor Mallard.
Has any member of his office staff, paid for by ministerial services, attended any Cabinet Club meeting with him?
Honourable Michael Woodhouse. Order!
Mr. Speaker.
Order, that is unacceptable. Now, the question has been asked. We'll listen for the response.
Mr. Speaker.
Honourable Michael Woodhouse.
I don't have the information with me to answer that question, but if the member would like to put the question down in writing, I'd be very happy to give him an answer.
Supplementary question.
Supplementary question, Honourable Trevor Mallard.
Has he fulfilled his obligations under para 253 of the Cabinet Manual by attending a chapter of a group that charges recent immigrants more than long-term New Zealand citizens?
In as far as his ministerial responsibility, Honourable Michael Woodhouse.
Mr. Speaker, I must confess I'm not sure what the member is asking, but I have every confidence that I have complied with all aspects of the Cabinet Manual.
Question number 5.
Supplementary question, Mr. Speaker. Supplementary question.
Supplementary question, Holly Walker.
We're only just getting started, Mr. Speaker. Was it wise for him, as Minister of Immigration, to attend a Cabinet Club Chinese branch event, given the risk outlined on the radio this morning by the former president of the Chinese Association that many new migrants may think it's possible to buy influence with government ministers because that's how business is done in their home country?
Mr. Speaker.
Order. I'm just waiting for a bit of a... Honourable Michael Woodhouse.
Mr. Speaker, I repeat my answer to the primary question, which is I attend a number of events in a variety of forums, wearing my hat as a Member of Parliament, Member of Party, and in my ministerial responsibility. I generally don't have any knowledge about the circumstances as a guest that lead to the other people in those events being there. And so in that sense, it would be inappropriate of me to offer an opinion.
Supplementary question.
Point of order.
No, supplementary.
Supplementary question, the Honourable Jerry Brownlee.
To the Minister, can the Minister say if he's ever attended a meeting at a well-known Coatesville mansion where he might have discussed with the occupant the possibility of accepting an enormous amount of cash to not only give him immigration or preference or citizenship, but also to give him clemency against the law?
Order. 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 I have a point of order from Gareth Hughes.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. That question had no relevance to the primary question. It hadn't been introduced in any of the answers.
I'll hear from the Honourable Trevor Mallard.
Mr. Speaker, I thought that the point of order would be another one. I thought you would have ruled the question out because, of course, it refers to a matter before the court. Mr. Banks is the person who got the bag of money.
Order. I am not ruling the question out. Honourable Michael Woodhouse.
Mr. Speaker, I can give the member and this House an absolute guarantee that that has not happened, nor is it ever going to happen in the foreseeable future, unlike other members of this House.
Question.
Order. Supplementary question, Holly Walker.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. If he is not engaged in cash for access, how come people who can't pay to meet him, like Murdoch Stevens, who runs the Doing Our Bit campaign to double New Zealand's refugee quota, can't get a meeting with him despite repeated requests, and people who pay thousands of dollars through the Cabinet Club can?
Honourable Michael Woodhouse.
So, I'm not aware of whether or not Mr. Stevens has sought a meeting, but I am in reasonably frequent dialogue with him on social media, and I'm very happy to hear from him in the future.
Supplementary question. Supplementary question.
I'm just waiting for the Honourable Annette King. Holly Walker, supplementary question.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Would he agree that one way to help protect him from the awkward situation he has found himself in today would be for the government to introduce a ministerial disclosure regime like that proposed by the Green Party, under which ministers would report on who they discuss government policy with in the interests of transparency and fairness?
Again, insofar as this ministerial responsibility, the Honourable Michael Woodhouse.
Mr. Speaker, I refute the preface to the question. I am in no such awkward situation and need no such protection.
Supplementary question.
Supplementary question, Holly Walker.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. How can he credibly argue that he did not attend these events in his ministerial capacity when he is the Minister for Immigration and he met with would-be migrants keen to discuss immigration policy at an event called the Cabinet Club?
Mr. Speaker.
Honourable Michael Woodhouse.
Mr. Speaker, I repeat, I speak to a number of people in a number of forums, at the supermarket, at the service station, at the airport, in Cabinet Club meetings, in public meetings, and they are interested in articulating their views on immigration policy, and I'm happy to hear from them.
Supplementary question, Honourable Jerry Brownlee.
Mr. Speaker, to the Minister, given that he is now answering questions on the Cabinet Club, does he ever think it likely that a Green Member of Parliament would be a welcome speaker at such an event?
Order. There is... Now that has stepped across the boundary. There is no ministerial responsibility. Order. Order. Question number 5, Bill Twyford. Order.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
I've called Mr. Twyford.